Everybody, welcome to Q&A Tuesday. So someone shared a question with me, and we got to meet briefly yesterday. She set up a little quick consult, which I do offer on my website, on my scheduling calendar, where you can come, and if you just want to find out about different programs, that's available to you for like a 10-minute, 15-minute little short Q&A, see what's going on around Work with Grace. Anyway, she has been on Facebook here, where a lot of the questions come from, and wanted to, explore and find out more and be in the process of self-inquiry. And she said a really interesting thing, which is very familiar. So you may find this something that you've thought before too. I certainly have, which was the phrase something like, "This has been going on since I was 5. This has been going on since I was a child." This trouble with compulsive orientation, no matter what it is, whether it's food and eating or reaching or anxiety or a busy mind or, some kind of reactivity that we have around the world. I've thought of this world as a dangerous place sometimes, or had trouble with it, or noticed a lot of stress and busyness and intensity. Sometimes people say, everything was okay before that, and then there was a traumatic experience, and then following that very traumatizing experience, there was trouble. So we all know that there's been links between experiencing something very intense emotionally in the world, really affects us and makes a huge difference, of course. So natural, wouldn't that be? And then what is this, though, when it could persist? It continues. And, in this inquirer's first comment, there were, I'm miserable, I can't stand it. And then, as she just said, only a little more, it was, well, it's a lot better than it was even only 10 years ago. Like, I no longer binge. I no longer purge. I can't remember if there was a few other things, but it just wasn't so intense. So isn't that interesting to notice that our mind kind of thinks, well, there's been improvement and changes and shifts, and I'm not in the middle of the trauma anymore. I'm not right in the center of the wild storm of compulsion the way it once was, not quite the same. And I'm still suffering and kind of agonizing about this thing. So that's totally okay. But it is interesting to notice that the mind will just kind of dump that all into the same category of there's a problem, and think, we haven't solved it. I got to keep hunting. Something's wrong with me. All the same things that we think over and over again with proof. So this wasn't in that inquirer's line of questioning, but what I wanted to address because of someone else's comment and questions in the Eating Peace Inquiry Circle in this past week was how many modalities and techniques and trainings and therapies and, projects we've had around this trying to heal thing. And that sometimes those can show up as like our regiment of self-care. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, beautiful if there's a self-care kind of process that you love, but lots of efforts with practices. And, just thinking of some of them, I was jotting some of them down, like exercises to work on breathing or visualization or chakras or manifestation or meditation or chanting or identifying, your tendencies and focusing on that, or body work, and all these things are so beautiful to try. Really, some of them are just the right thing at the right moment, in the right place and time. And the idea that we must do them in order to find this place that's been persisting for so long, like freedom from this thing. Like, I'm in a battle with this anxiety, with this compulsive drive, with this eating behavior that I've got, with this drinking, with this way that I think, my responses to life. I'm in a battle with that. I need to crack down and change it, and getting on that merry-go-round cycle, which is, here I go again. Like, here I am working on it. Great. I've got this. I'm handling it. I'm strong and I'm moving forward. And then somehow something coming along and a collapse of that, because it takes a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. You have to, I don't know, be disciplined and focused, and set your alarm for 5 a.m. and do the things, do all the things. Have the structure that seems to be required, and do the process. And sure, we know we've seen how it looks. It looks good when we're over there doing it, and it seems like it just looks like it's of benefit, and we're in the good zone, doing it the right way zone. And then that collapse and fatigue, and I just want to rest. I want to go on vacation. I want to be able to not do it and have that be just as absolutely fine. Where's the freedom? In other words, where's the freedom? I want to not be on a diet and be free about that. When I'm not doing it, it seems like it's all or nothing. So I'm doing the behavior and suffering, or I'm counteracting this behavior, this process, and I'm suffering in some ways also. I mean, I'm holding on tight. I'm applying willpower and energy. And that can look like a lot of drudgery. I mean, it just can really look like you're plodding through, the highs and lows, but never really off this cycle of either defending against what arises, what's happening there, or fighting it successfully or unsuccessfully, applying energy, or giving up and collapsing in despair and resignation and apathy. And so just noticing that, very, very common, very familiar for maybe many of us. Here we go again. We'll have that about other things in life too, besides ourselves. So to ask this question, who would I be without that thought? Like, what is a part of me that isn't connected to all that thinking and looking and busyness with this cycle that does that? Whether it's successfully doing the things or the practices or not doing them. Who am I without any need to practice anything? And wasn't I born that way? Didn't I come into this world with a body in this form? Just having the baseline intact that is sort of built to have, food coming and going, or emotions coming and going, just being in our experience without necessarily, just being in it and responding to it. So coming alive and having emotions. I don't know, babies cry and they laugh. They have all those different kinds of expressions. And what if there's something that is just okay about all that's the way of it? Like the nature, like the animals, that there's nothing that's gone wrong. except the mind starts thinking it has. Yeah, who are we without all the storytelling, without all the thinking and images and looking at the past and projecting where this is going? What if any practices that we perform are not required? Because how could they be? Was a practice required when we were born? It couldn't possibly be. There's just being who you are. Who are we? No steps to solve the problem. Even though I know I myself have talked about kind of frameworks and steps and following, but it's really not so possible to capture like that. In a way, we can have these wonderful conversations about it and using the mind, for all of its fascination with everything and kind of taking in. But I love this quote, and I have no idea where it comes from. Just have it written down somewhere. I don't know where it comes from. I can devour anything phenomenal, but I cannot eat awareness, for it devours me. So kind of like the mind speaking. I suppose speaking is coming from, mind and forming words and connecting and making contact with, the words, although a lot is said without words. I can devour anything phenomenal, like just happenings that are going on, doing the practices, getting information, solving the problem here, doing lots of doing. But I cannot eat awareness, for it devours me. I am devoured by awareness. And of course, I wrote that down because of the use of the words that have to do with eating and consuming and taking and, being devoured and all of that directly. But that can be applied to anything, not just like an eating compulsion, but any feeling of any compulsion, which I suppose, maybe, we're just the wonderful Adyashanti to speak about, like, ultimately any addiction, compulsion kind of movement that looks like that feels very compelling, like we have to do it, is just in the mind. It's a compulsion to think, addiction to our thinking, to the stories, to the thought process and the energy that's going on there. So allowing ourselves to let go and not have to do anything. Could that be just for today? Nothing's required. In fact, relaxing into the freedom, the total freedom of absolutely nothing being required, just letting go into that can be immensely peaceful. Maybe that's what we truly want, if really nothing is needed. I remember at different times in my life just having all kinds of practices, getting up, and then there's going to be this much journaling, and then there's going to be 1 hour of meditation, and then we're going to do this. And it was fabulous because I felt good, beginning things with that approach, beginning the day. So nothing wrong with it. And what if it is absolutely not required? Just a sense and feeling of being as we are, nothing more needed. Allowing ourselves to be eaten by awareness, that we are aware, that we're already in the soup of awareness. We are just a part of it. Yeah. So not one single step needed to access peace. Like a step to be taken would need to happen just a little tiny bit into the future. So nothing needed. Just breathing, relaxing, gentleness. I suppose even feeling all the different feelings that would be present and noticing that they pass through, like the weather. Pima Chodron, we're the sky. And every feeling and thought and story are like clouds blowing through the sky, or birds flying through, or the airplanes, or anything inside the sky that's moving through it. But we are actually the sky, just the life force. It's hard for the mind to really grasp or picture that, isn't it? I mean, my mind has trouble. Like, what? But you can feel that there's some sort of pulsing life here. That's obvious, where we don't even know where it comes from. It's just a mystery. And to have a trust in that, even just a little drop of it, that the comings and goings of whatever the phenomena are, the content of life, whatever's happening that we're winding up reacting to in the past, projecting into the future, making our predictions, or the mind running, even that's all okay, that the mind's actually running. Of course it is. How could it not be? But that it's like a wonderful feeling of just being, who am I without my story? What's here without a story? And it's okay even if there is a story running, but if I don't believe the story, what's happening here? So I love that, Ausra. I just did a worksheet along with one of Grace's videos. It's great. Beautiful. I suppose, I love that we have inquiry, which is an invitation. Like, nobody even has to do the work. How could that be required for peace? And I love that a fantastic question is so good for that mind that is so convinced and so busy and so full that it can't see anything else. It's just like, I know what that's like. My mind will have things that are running in it and cause early to wake up in the morning, or, oh, that's a concern. Of course that happens. And wonderful to have questions about, who would I be without the thought? I mean, trying the easy way instead of the hard way, with a lot of planning and discipline and willpower. And so it's just, I love this phrase, and we'll end with this today. Drop the knife, an old kind of Zen Taoist phrase. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. I feel like that's a wonderful way to describe, who would you be without the story? Who would I be without the thought? No defense necessary. No force of any kind needed toward the self, toward anything else in the world. Trying the easy way. Maybe not even try. Maybe not even try at all. But that peace that we're seeking is present. It's present. And never, ever gone. Always very steadily holding here. So turned around. That story of, I've had this for so long. I've had this problem. I've been contending with this for ages. I haven't. Only my mind has been thinking, which is very human. Wouldn't have it any other way. But who I am has had no problem at all. Absolutely no problem. Yeah, the I that is here has just been being lived and being thought. And only my thinking has had a problem with what's been going on, it thinks. And maybe that's not even true. But what a turnaround, right? You could just take that into your day. Take that into your, like, wow, really seems like I've had a problem, but how can I find examples of how I have not. I mean, something is still here, steady, witnessing, open, aware, consumed by the awareness. Awareness itself, being lived, being thought. Something's here, always been here, always a baseline or something very solid and mysterious that's everlasting, ever present. And all those minutes that I was not thinking about my compulsive target of, interest, whether it's food or some other sort of substance or some other way of thinking. That's just been something going on, and then that has come to rest, and I have actually had lots of thinking about other stuff or just awareness of other things. And in those moments, do I have a problem? Did I have a problem when I was asleep? Did I have a problem when I was in a beautiful conversation with a friend, or those moments when I wasn't thinking about the problem? Did I have a problem? What an amazing question. I mean, I find I didn't. If I wasn't thinking about the problem, I didn't have it. So many minutes when it wasn't even active. But even though it looks like it has been, and something started with food and eating, and okay that story is there. Of course, wonderful. It says something about the unique history or whatever's imprinted here and what I know about myself. But is that just images or is it reality? And notice it's just images. How can it possibly be reality? Not right now. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Let me know how it goes.